Well, hello, Comic Book Nation. Welcome back to the Comicbook.com studio here at HQ in Nashville. I'm joined by Jamie Lovett. My name is Brandon Davis. Please call me BD. We have something really cool. Big Magic fan service here, I think, because this new set, is this out yet?
Yes, this came out, I believe Friday it dropped.
Okay, so the new set, it just came out Friday, so you probably might not have had a chance to dive into it. We're about to dive in to the best Christmas present ever in February. A full booster box for Theros Beyond Death. Jamie's the expert. I'm going to kind of be the one facilitating this. I'm a pretty casual Magic fan, so I'll ask the questions that I think some people might be asking. I'm sure some people already know the answers, but without further ado, I think we need to just start cracking these open. And Jamie can kind of give you guys some information about this while I get in here.
Yeah, so this set is going back to the plane of Theros. If you're a longtime Magic player, you'll remember that's the plane that's basically all Greek myth and legends and heroes and gods and all that stuff. In this set, the idea is basically the underworld is broken, and so the dead are pouring out of Magic's equivalent of Hades, and so there's lots of fun stuff in the set that reflects that. Yeah.
I think I have found a perfect reflection of that. Peripherals, bronze-blooded, legendary enchantment creature. He's a god. Indestructible as long as you have devotion or 2 red. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Peripherals isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have haste. You may put a red creature or an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Jamie, take us home with what we should do with
Sure, so this is a really fun card to get in our first booster because it has a bunch of the new or returning features from Theros in it. It's an enchantment creature that, as you may have guessed, means it counts both as an enchantment and a creature, which leads to all sorts of fun synergy. Devotion is a mechanic where basically you count all of the color symbols for a certain color, in this case all of the red, across all the permanents on the board, and that's what your devotion is. So when you have, 4 devotion on this, he becomes a creature, and you get this 7/6 that can attack things. Also indestructible. Gods are not fun if you're on the other side of the table.
And he only costs 5 to put out, so 7's like...
Yeah, and it'll just sit there as a enchantment until he's big enough to go fight someone.
All right, this is like every kid's dream. We got 2 rare cards. One of them's shiny. Nightmare Shepard is our holographic card. Another enchantment creature, a demon, takes 4 to put out. We're going black here. Flying, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's 1/1 and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, this is these are both cards that are already showing up a lot. I know we said it just came out on Friday, but it's been on Magic Arena, the digital game that I play, for like a couple weeks. Nightmare Shepard. If you've been playing Magic, you know that black sacrifice decks are really popular. So hey, now when you sacrifice things, you just get to make a copy of it. So yeah, obviously that's pretty good for those kind of
things. It's about time you start getting rewarded for that stuff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because I never understood why people... I could never do it. If I did a black deck, I had to do a white deck because I had to instantly fix it, whatever I did.
Need to balance everything?
I need to perfectly balance, as all things should be. Dream Trawler. It's blue and white. It's a creature, Sphinx. It has flying and lifelink. Whenever you draw a card, Dream Trawler, am I saying that right? Trawler?
I think so.
Gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Dream Trawler attacks, draw a card. Discard a card. Dream Trawler gains hexproof until end of turn. Tap it. Jamie?
Yeah, so this is just basically a staple bomb card for white-blue control decks. It's a big creature with flying, so it goes over everything. It gains you life. It gets meaner when you draw cards. It lets you draw cards, and then if something tries to kill it, you can discard one of those many cards you've drawn to say no. So yeah, a really, really annoying finisher for your Azorius decks is what that is.
There you go. We got a shiny island. Bam! I love shiny cards.
Oh, these are fun. These are called Nyx lands. They're a new style of land they're putting into this set, and they basically, people have compared them, they kind of look like energy cards from Pokemon.
It really does.
Yeah, instead of showing lands, they just show pure magical energy. They're pretty cool. They're neat.
Sweet. And then we also got Kunoros, Hound of Athreos. Yeah, this is very Greek sounding. You were right. Mm-hmm. A legendary creature, Hound, Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards.
So this is basically a counter to a mechanic in this deck called, oh god, now I can't remember what it's called. But it is a mechanic that lets you cast spells from your graveyard, basically using You pay mana and you exile some cards from your graveyard, and you get to play it right to the battlefield. So this is a hard counter to this. Also, you'll notice in a lot of these cards, they're barely hiding the Greek influence. This is very clearly Cerberus, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Not even, yeah.
I thought it was the thing from Harry Potter.
Which is fine. I mean, it's very cool anyway. But
Just kidding. We got another shiny one, Thundering Chariot. Feast your eyes, and then we'll go to the rare. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Dryad, put some clothes on, bro. Enchantment creature Nymph. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Lands you control are very basic land type, or every basic land type in addition to their other types. Wow, that's big.
So green decks like to ramp. Being able to play 2 lands on every turn, or possibly more than 2 if you have multiples of these out, is a pretty good way to ramp up your mana and play something huge, a Hydra Chronos, something like that, and just ruin everybody's day. And this is another enchantment creature. Like I said, there are lots of synergies and combos with enchantments in this set, and so having a creature that's also that is helpful.
Thessa's Oracle. Look at that thing. I love the artwork on this one. That's really cool. Creature Merfolk Wizard. Ooh, this is a long one.
That is
Buckle
a lot
up.
of text.
When Thessa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. Each blue in the mana cost of permanents you control counts toward your devotion to blue.
Yeah, so self-milling is a mechanic that they're playing with a little bit in this set. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of graveyard play, playing things from your graveyard, bringing things back from your graveyard. So this card's basically just a good way to put things in your graveyard so that you can then do shenanigans with them afterwards.
That would not go well with that other black card we had earlier. Tyrannica, Acroan Veteran. Legendary creature, human soldier, vigilance. When Tyrannica Acroan Veteran attacks, untap another target creature you control. Until the end of turn, that creature has a base power and toughness 4/4 and gains indestructible. All right, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Mono White Devotion is a new, thanks to this set, aggro archetype that's making the rounds, and this just makes it all that much harder to deal with. It's 3/3, but the scary thing is suddenly you've got indestructible creatures that your opponent has to work around.
All right, we've got what I like to call a Christmas card. Galia of the Endless Dance. Legendary creature, Satyr. Haste. Other Satyrs. I'm butchering that, I know I am. You control, get +1/+1 and have haste. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may discard a card at random. If you do, draw 2 cards.
So yeah, this is a pretty niche card. It's for Gruul decks. Nobody's really playing like Satyr tribal decks or anything like that, but it can be handy for, aggro decks like Gruul have trouble keeping up in the late game because they play everything early on, and this is just a handy card for, if you can, turning your 1 card into 2 cards, that kind of thing.
All right, we're sticking with the 2-color cards with Uro, the Titan of Nature's Wrath, blue and green. Legendary creature, Elder Giant. Escape.
That is the name of the mechanic I could not remember. Escape. Thank you.
All right. This Uro has, when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Is that how you remembered?
Yeah, also it's at the bottom.
Whenever Uro enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and it has escape, as Jamie said.
Right. So the way this works, there are several Titans like this that you play them from your hand, they come into play, then immediately die because they did not escape, but you get the effect that happens when they come into the battlefield. So this is good for a ramp deck because it lets you get some land. Then it goes into your graveyard and you escape and it does it again and you have a 6/6 creature out. And the fun thing is if you kill it, you can escape with it again and again and again. So Titans are very difficult cards to deal with, we're finding out.
Quick shiny card, Naiad of Hidden Coves.
So shiny.
And Tectonic Giant, creature, elemental giant, takes 4 to play. Whenever Tectonic Giant attacks or becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, choose 1. Tectonic Giant deals 3 damage to each opponent, or exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose 1 of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card.
So this seems like a card that's mostly going to get played in your limited games and draft and stuff, but it's kind of fun. It does some extra damage. You know, it's just a decent body to throw into your limited deck and then maybe get a few shenanigans out of while it's on the board.
All right.
Nothing too shiny.
Green. Citizen Champion. Creature, human warrior. Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Citizen Champion and draw a card.
Yeah, so this is, Constellation is exactly what it sounds like. It's just something where when you play an enchantment, including an enchantment creature like we've been talking about, it triggers some sort of effect. In this case, your creature gets bigger and you get to draw cards. It's really, really basic, but if you've loaded up your deck with auras and enchantment creatures and basic enchantments, gods, whatever,
Right.
It can get silly real quick.
Bronzehide Lion. Look at that. Is that Simba all grown up? Bronzehide Lion gains indestructible until the end of turn for 1 green and 1 white. When Bronzehide Lion dies, return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with enchant creatures you control and green white. Enchanted creature gains indestructible until end of turn, and it loses all other abilities.
So I think this card is inspired by, I forget what it was called, the lion that Hercules slays in his trials and takes his pelt or something like that. So basically, you get this cool mythical creature. It's hard to kill. If it dies, well, one of your other creatures gets to take its pelt, and now it's hard to kill. Again, pretty basic. Selesnya is not really making a big splash right now, but if you wanted to try some green-white shenanigans, you could do worse.
All right, we got a cool one. I don't know if it has powers yet, but it looks cool. Thrix, the Sudden Storm. Ooh. Legendary creature, Elemental Giant. This thing is like basically a Celestial. Flash, flying, spells that you cast with converted mana cost 5 or greater, cost 1 less to cast, and can't be countered. Wow.
Yeah, this is another
Wow.
bomb for a control style deck. It has flash, which means you can play it on your opponent's turn. So your poor unsuspecting opponent passes turn, you say, but wait, I have a giant. And you play this thing, and next turn it can attack with flying, and all of the big, big spells you've been holding in your hand suddenly get a little cheaper to play.
Wow, that's a good card.
Yeah, real silly. Giant is another one of those recurring themes in this set. There are other giants as well. Yeah, and like you said, that art is real pretty. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, we got a shiny.
Shinies.
Shiny. Woo! That shows that just shows my attention span, I think. Shiny red ball. And moving on. Shadow the Sky. Sorcery. 2 white, 2 random. Each player who controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card, then destroy all creatures. That's interesting for a white card.
Yeah, it's a.
That's like, is that inspired by the volcano? What is it? They made
Pompeii?
a bad movie about it. Pompeii.
Yeah, could be. That makes sense. Yeah, this is a card. White is known for board sweeps like Wrath of God. This one
Sure.
seems to be playing on the idea that a lot of the control decks, white included, are going to have some sort of big creature out, like one of the gods or something like that. And so this makes it a little easier to kill your own creature because you know you're going to at least get a card out of it. And then you get to control the board afterwards.
All right, I have something in here that's interesting that I want you to kind of break down for me.
Absolutely.
The look of this card. Is that new?
This is a returning mechanic. It was in the Dominaria set a little while ago. They're called Sagas. Essentially, they are enchantments that are stories that play out over the course of the game. Side note, this was the original mechanical design for how Planeswalkers were supposed to work, and they decided it didn't work for Planeswalkers. So they did them like this instead. So basically...
I'm glad they didn't do that for the Planeswalkers.
Yeah, you play it, and on the...
It could have been cool having the... Sorry to interrupt, but
No, you're
it could have
fine.
been cool to have the art of
Yeah.
just the Planeswalker tall up there, but I don't know about it.
Well, yeah, it works
Maybe
like
I'm
this.
just old and I don't like change.
You play it, and this first thing happens, then next turn the second thing happens, then
Sure,
turn after
sure.
that third thing happens, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
And so in this case, you get a land, and then turn after that, you get an 0/4 wall, that's a defender, and then after that, you get some life. So it's just a real good traditional white, slow down the aggro deck kind of maneuver.
All right, and that wasn't our rare from that pack. Our rare from that pack is Treacherous Blessing. An enchantment, when Treacherous Blessing enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose 1 life. That's on brand. When Treacherous Blessing becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. All right, well, how bad do you want those 3 cards?
Yeah, I mean, 3 cards can be the difference between a win or a loss. But
That's
yeah,
true.
It comes at a price. Usually black has a way to turn turn perceived sacrifices or weaknesses into gain. So, you know how it goes.
Archon of Sun's Grace. Perhaps it's Archon. I'm going with Archon.
I think it's Archon.
Flying, lifelink, Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink, and Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying.
This is a card that's already seeing some play. Constellation, again, very good in this set. And then on top of that, it has flying and lifelink. And there are lots of white cards in this set that have very powerful triggers whenever you gain life. So having a small legion of life-gaining flying Pegasus is a pretty good strategy.
We got a shiny. It's an uncommon. Let's not get too excited. And then we got our rare here. I'm just going to let you take this, the Rowan War.
Yeah, sure.
So that's another one of those.
This is one of my favorite cards from this set. I use it as a sideboard card in my aggro decks. Basically, when I'm playing another aggro deck, because it lets you steal one of their creatures until it goes away. Then the next turn, all of your opponent's creatures have to attack. And then turn after that, any creatures that are tapped, meaning all of your opponent's creatures, because they just attacked, deal damage to themselves equal to their power. So it's like a weird mini board wipe that you can manipulate. It's like an upgraded Act of Treason kind of deal, and I love it.
Interesting. We have a shiny Renata, legendary enchantment creature, but it's uncommon, so we're going to move on. To the rare, Nightmare Shepard.
We saw this one.
We already got this one. You know what? Screw you, Nightmare Shepard.
I wish I could. They're very annoying, I'll tell you.
All right, here we go.
Cat Oven decks didn't need any help.
Thassa's Intervention. Did we get Thassa earlier?
Different Thassa.
Okay. Choose one. It's an instant. Put at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of mana you use to play it. Put at the top X cards of your library. Put up to 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Counter target spell unless its controller pays twice X. Wow, interesting.
So this is just a versatile blue card for blue control.
I feel like blue is just bullying people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one of those cards. If your opponent still has cards in their hand, you hang on to it for a counter spell. If they're running out of juice, maybe you draw cards to juice yourself. You know,
right?
It's versatile.
Rare land, Temple of Deceit. Temple of Deceit enters the battlefield tapped. When Temple of Deceit enters the battlefield, scry 1. Tap it, add a blue or black.
Yeah, these are the new dual lands. We got some of these temples in the 2020 core set, and now, so in Theros, they put out the temples for the missing color combinations. They're a little divisive. They're pretty good if you're playing a control deck, so like the blue-black, probably going to want those, because the thing is they come into play tapped, and so that's a little bit of a problem for aggro decks that are trying to go fast. But drawing cards.
Enigmatic Incarnation, blue and green. It's an enchantment at the beginning of your end step. You may sacrifice another enchantment. If you do, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed enchantment's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. All right, that's actually a pretty good card.
Yeah, this seems like a card that combo players will be looking at to try and brew up something silly. Reminds me of Neoform, which lets you basically do the same thing, but by killing one of your own creatures and replacing it with another creature. But with all the enchantment silliness in this set, it makes sense that you'd go this route.
This is really cool.
I'm afraid of what some will
This
come
next
up
card
with
is really cool. This is the cover character. Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis. Legendary Planeswalker Elspeth. Just take over. There you go. That's
Yeah,
really
sure.
Cool.
So
that's a really cool card.
This is exciting because Elspeth died in the last Theros set. There was a card called Elspeth Sun's Champion, and people have been asking for her to come back, and so people come back from the dead, she comes back. Starts with 5 loyalty. You can give +2/+1 to a creature to target creature, 2 creatures you control until end of turn. You can -2 to create 2 1/1 white human soldiers. You can -3 to gain 5 life. You'll notice there's no plus on her, but that's because when she dies, you can cast Escape and bring her back. So basically, you play her, you make a small legion of annoying creatures, or you just buff the ones you already have. You kill her, you bring her back, you do it again, and again, and again.
Wow, what a curse. Storm Herald. Creature, human shaman, haste. When Storm Herald enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. Exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras would leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them anywhere else.
So this is a pretty tricky card to use. Like I said, there's lots of auras in this set, but you're kind of banking on them being in your graveyard when you want them to. If you happen to pull this guy at just the right moment to finish off your opponent, sure. But yeah, red has more efficient ways to just punch people in the face.
All right. Gravebreaker Lamia. That's a
I think.
devilish looking snake here. Is that my ex-girlfriend? I'm just kidding. She's lovely. Enchantment creature, snake, Lamia, lifelink. When Gravebreaker Lam enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast.
Yeah, so basically, this is basically a card that gives you a 4/4 creature, but you also get to tutor a card with escape into your graveyard and then cast it for cheaper.
Yeah.
Tutor a card like one of those Titans we talked about. So that's a handy.
See what I'm talking about? These black and white decks. Put that with Elspeth. You got a hell of a army building pretty quickly. All right, Arase of the Endless Web. A legendary enchantment creature with a spider, costs 4 to play. Reach. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a half-green spider creature token with reach.
That's a 1/2 green.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Listen, I got people in my ear talking to me. I got that. I listen.
Sure.
But yeah, listen.
Yeah, this card is basically
Thank you for correcting me because somebody in the comments would have, and I deserve it.
Yeah, this card's just basically a green way of trying to stall flyers, mostly white-blue flyers who are fond of instant and sorcery spells in their deck, or even red decks with a lot of direct damage. So it's probably a handy sideboard card, maybe.
All right, we're going to go through a couple more here, and then I know Rowan wants some of these cards, so we're going to let him be surprised by opening up a booster pack. Opening up a booster pack is like the coolest feeling. Like I know you don't. Jamie doesn't tell you guys. He tells you he plays online. I know he shows up to the local store and he beats up on the little kids with all the. I saw a little kid come out of the store crying. No, he plays online, but Rowan likes
telling
to play.
Tall tales.
Well, listen, explain it to the little kid's parents then. Erebos' Intervention. It costs 1 black, an X to play. It's an instant. Choose one. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. You gain X life. Exile up to twice X target cards from your graveyard.
Yeah, it's a handy black mid-range style card because it's versatile. If there's a problem on the board, you can kill it. If your problem is that your opponent is playing a lot of those escape cards, then you can get rid of them instead. Always good to have options so you never have a dead card.
All right, well, Thessa's Oracle again. All right, we have to do one more. We already got Thessa's Oracle. Let's get one more. Jamie, if you want to open one, and then we're going to wrap this up. These are our last two. We thank you, and we thank Wizard for sending these.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm here. Chronos, the Unchained. Chronos. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the Greek pronunciation of that. Chronos. I don't know. The Unchained. It's a black and green, and then 2 legendary creature. Zombie Hydra. Chronos enters the battlefield with 6+1/+1 counters on it. It escapes with 12 +1/+1 counters on it instead. If damage would be dealt to Chronos while it has a +1/+1 counter on it, prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters from it. 1 black, 1 green. Chronos fights another target creature. Escape for 1 green, 1 black. Exile 6 other cards from your graveyard.
Yeah, so this is Hydras doing what Hydras do, which is they get real big and have crazy tokens. And yeah, it's just real tough to deal with, especially if it came out of the graveyard and has 12 tokens. And then, black and green have tricks to get more tokens on things, so this can be a long-lasting nightmare if you're playing against a Golgari deck.
Yeah. All right, last card. What do you got?
I have, where to go? Here we go. Nessian Boar, which costs 5 to play and is a 10/6. All creatures able to block Nessian Boar do so. Whenever Nessian Boar becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller draws a card. So this is a way of playing it, attacking with it, clearing out any blockers that your opponent may have, and hopefully you've got some other creatures that can go clean up and finish your opponent off before they have a chance to make use of those cards you just gave them.
Also on brand for green decks.
Very green, very green.
I dig it. All right, well, we have a few more packs. If you guys want to see them, let us know in the comments. Send us a tweet or something. And if you just want to know what we got, we can do that for you. Otherwise, and if you have any questions, I suggest sending them to Jamie Lovett. You see his expertise. He knows what he's talking about, and he beats up on little kids in Magic.
That doesn't
I feel like I should say that doesn't happen. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. He didn't make anybody cry that I'm aware of. But huge thanks to Wizard for sending this booster box for Theros Beyond Death. You can go get them now. Seriously, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Jamie, how can people find you on social media if they have a question?
Find me at Jamie Lovett on Twitter.
And you'll find more information on Comicbook.com. Hit me up if you want at Brandon Davis BD. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon, guys. If there's anything else you want to see in these unboxings or anything, let us know in the comment section. We'll do that next time because we do these fairly regularly. So if you guys have any other questions or anything you want to see from these cards or these unboxings, leave that in the comments. We'll see you soon.